October 1347, 12 Genoese ships dropped anchor at the Sicilian port of Messina. Crowds rushed to the docks expecting goods from the east, silk, grain, spices. Instead, they found silence. Most sailors lay dead. The few alive were delirious, their skin swollen with dark, oozing boils. Authorities ordered the ships to leave immediately, but it was too late. The plague had already stepped onto European soil. Within months, it would kill 1 out of every 3 people on the continent. The Black Death didn't begin in Europe. It started thousands of miles east along the trade routes of the Mongol Empire. Caravans carried grain, silk, and rats. On those rats lived fleas infected with a bacterium later named Yersinia pestis. As merchants moved between China, India, Persia, and the Mediterranean, they unknowingly ferried death itself. By 1346, the plague reached the Crimean coast. Outside the Genoese trading post of Caffa, Mongol soldiers, weak with fever and sores, laid siege to the city. Desperation turned to horror when, as chroniclers tell it, the army hurled their dead over the walls. Inside, panic spread faster than arrows, and soon the defenders fled to their ships, carrying the plague with them in every barrel, bundle, and bite. From Caffa to Constantinople, Venice, and Marseille, the infection followed the sea lanes. By the spring of 1348, it had reached Paris, London, and Oslo. No city, no village, no monastery was safe. Ships became floating coffins, ports became graveyards. In some towns, 90% of residents vanished within months. Those who survived watched wagons roll past stacked with bodies, their wheels cutting grooves of mud and blood through the streets. Victims first felt fever and dizziness, then stabbing pain in the joints. Within hours, large lumps swelled in the armpits, groin, and neck. The buboes that gave the bubonic plague its name. They turned black as the skin died, bursting with pus and blood. The smell was unbearable. Many victims bled internally. Dark blotches spread under their skin and breathing grew ragged. Few lived beyond 3 days. And as death filled every street, fear crept into every home. Families abandoned their sick in locked houses, praying from outside the door. People had no idea how the disease spread. Some blamed foul air, others believed it was God's punishment. Doctors in long leather coats and bird-shaped masks stuffed the beaks with herbs and vinegar to purify the air. But the real culprits were fleas, tiny, unseen, leaping from rats to humans, biting again and again. Each bite carried death in its wake. One bite could kill an entire household. As panic grew, towns turned on outsiders. Foreigners, beggars, and even cats were slaughtered as scapegoats. In Germany and Switzerland, Jewish communities were burned alive after being accused of poisoning wells. Amid the terror and guilt that followed, priests marched barefoot through cities, whipping themselves in repentance. Church bells rang constantly, drowning out the silence of streets where no children played. Gravediggers sang hymns to keep from losing their minds as they filled pits large enough for hundreds of corpses. Between 1347 and 1351, the Black Death killed between 75 and 200 million people worldwide. Entire villages disappeared. In Florence alone, 9 of every 10 citizens died. Across France, thousands of settlements were reduced to forests and fields. Livestock perished too. Cows, sheep, pigs, their bodies rotting beside their owners. Europe became a continent of ghosts. Medical treatments often made things worse. Doctors practiced bloodletting, slicing open veins to release bad humors. Others lanced the buboes with knives. releasing black fluid that sprayed contagion into the air. Some bathed in rosewater or vinegar. Others burned rosemary, garlic, and sulfur to cleanse the soul. Yet every ritual ended the same. With silence and death, nothing worked. Even priests stopped visiting the dying, and doctors abandoned patients to save themselves. Bodies piled faster than they could be buried. The plague struck so brutally that only a tiny fraction of Europeans, less than 1%, carried a genetic mutation granting resistance. Those survivors passed their genes to the next generations. Today, nearly 15% of people of European descent still carry that protective variant, a biological echo of one of history's darkest chapters. The Black Death didn't end with a cure. It ended because it ran out of lives to take. Isolation and fear slowed its spread until the fire of infection burned itself out. Cities learned to wash, to quarantine, and to build walls against invisible enemies. Centuries later, antibiotics would finally conquer what prayers could not. The plague faded, but its lessons built the foundation of modern medicine. Proof that even in darkness, humanity learns to survive. When the plague finally retreated, Europe was half empty. But from that emptiness came change. With so few workers left, peasants demanded higher wages, and serfdom began to crumble. Abandoned land was reclaimed by nature. Forests swallowed ghost towns. The labor shortage spurred invention, and slowly, prosperity returned. Out of horror came the seeds of the Renaissance. The Black Death rewrote medicine, faith, and the structure of society. It exposed how fragile civilization truly was and how resilient humans could be. Even today, Yersinia pestis still exists in nature, waiting in the fleas of wild rodents. But modern antibiotics can stop what medieval fear could not. In 1347, 12 ships carried death to Europe. 6 centuries later, their shadow still reminds us how quickly the world can change. The plague ended, leaving behind a world forever changed, and a species that refused to fall.